Founded more than 5 decades ago, since last year, CTSI has acquired as many companies as in all its previous history. In this SSI Security Speaking podcast, CTSI CEO Joe Oliveri, Vice President of Mergers and Acquisitions Sergio Katz, and Vice President Business Development, Communications, and Corporate Marketing Alan Rosenkopf lend insights into the integrator's aggressive growth, becoming a one-stop shop, operational challenges, and golden opportunities. Be sure to subscribe to SSI's YouTube channel. Hit the like button, share, and leave comments. Or subscribe to SSI's Security Speaking podcast on Apple and Spotify. And leave us a review. Thank you. We're here with SSI and CTSI. Gentlemen, if you could just go around and quickly introduce yourselves. So let's start with my upper left is Sergio.
Oh, hello, Scott. Nice to meet you. I'm Sergio Katz. I'm the VP of Mergers and Acquisitions for CTSI.
Thank you, Sergio. Alan?
Hey, Scott. Good to see you. Thanks for having us. I'm Alan Rosenkopf. I'm Vice President of BD, Communications and Corporate Marketing at CTSI.
Thank you. Joe?
Hello, everybody. My name is Joe Oliveri. I'm the CEO of CTSI.
Thank you all for making time to do this. Much appreciated. So let's jump right in and talk about, where the company has come from in terms of a brief history and how you got to where you are today, which is certainly a company that's gotten a lot of attention with all of the M&A activities. So Alan or Sergio, you want to jump in on that?
Sure. So CTSI started about 50 years ago as a low voltage systems integrator, primarily focused on intercom and public address sound. And then we moved into security and through some early acquisitions, audiovisual systems, and education technology and healthcare communications. We grew pretty consistently year over year. And our original founder, Chris Corbett, was interested in exiting the business. And we had a private equity recapitalization with Tower Arch Capital in November of 2017. At which time we grew through some strategic acquisitions from what was primarily a DC Metro-based organization to one that became Mid-Atlantic. And we met our objectives and actually met the private equity objectives faster than they had anticipated. And then in 2020, we, in the midst of a global pandemic, we were recapitalized again by Windpoint Partners. And when that happened, Joe Oliveri and some additional senior leaders were brought in by the board at Windpoint to take us to where we are today, which is an organization that is comprised of 3 business units: fire, security, and critical workspace solutions, operating out of 22 countries with over 38 locations in the U.S. A great deal of that being driven by acquisitive growth that Sergio has done a great job in leading.
Yeah, so just to add to that, as Alan said, our acquisition strategy was, when I started about a year ago, was to bring the fire and the security platforms into play for us. And that has been a tremendous opportunity, as we'll talk a little bit more later, on the specific growth or where we wanted to take the company from a technology standpoint and putting all these businesses together as a one-stop shop.
Now, certainly from where we sit with SSI, some of the acquisitions have been especially eye-catching. Could you speak to a few of those, like AFA, Protection Bureau, StructureWorks?
Sure. So the AFA acquisition, the interesting thing that what we did and we were able to accomplish, Scott, is that a lot of the acquisitions that I brought to CTSI, to the board, to Joe, were off market, right? And that's where we thought our strength was an opportunity, especially with the AFA acquisition, where they weren't looking to sell. But I think our strategy of what we presented to them from day one was important to them and to us as well. And that acquisition was important because we were trying to build, as I mentioned before, our anchor businesses, or get to our anchor business from a fire and then from a security platform. So from a fire, we look at AFA because of the nationwide coverage that they have, the national accounts that they have, as well as from the StructureWorks, the big logos that they have, as well as the international and national accounts that they have. The strategy was simple, but at the end was something that was exciting to be able to expand our growth throughout not just the Mid-Atlantic area, but also through the world and nationwide.
Now I realize that this could change by the time we go to press with how fast CTSI has been moving, but right now, how many locations roughly, and what's the footprint?
Yeah, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to answer that one. So right now we're in, as Alan said, we're in 22 countries, and we have 38 physical locations in the US, and we're rapidly expanding. We're looking for further acquisitions in the West and internationally as well.
Ultimately, what's the vision for the business in terms of, its footprint and its density?
So right now we're over 1,500 employees, and we're spread out pretty good. But again, we do have a lot of pockets that we need to do better. And that's really what we're going to try to focus on is doing that, as well as growing our offerings that we have today. Whether it be cybersecurity, whether it be managed services, there's a lot of offerings that we have that we're just scratching the surface. And that's kind of what we'll be focused on.
And do you find that coming out of the pandemic that the clients are more interested in certain access control solutions or even video surveillance that maybe they weren't before, just because the work from home trend and different things that have happened with keeping track of where people are at different times and so forth?
Anybody can jump in.
You look like you're going to answer that, but I would say we're seeing more video monitoring because there's not team members on site. So can we dial in by our video and as Alan talked about, do audio dress downs, let people in for unattended delivery. So there's a lot of those options there. When we don't have people on site, we could do a lot of that remotely. We can let people in. We can make sure the delivery happens. We can make sure everything's locked up at the end. So there are a lot of managed services that we can provide that definitely helped during the pandemic.
And I just to follow on that, I think customers are looking for there was a drive to a hands-free workplace, right, where customers were looking to gain access and a more streamlined approach to gaining access into the building when people did come in, and that they have a similar experience in the workplace that they have at home with this hybrid, working model that is also driving, new and different technologies for our customers to implement. So, I think it's absolutely changed how our customers are thinking. The work from home impact has really brought opportunity to our business, and I think it's here to stay. I think it's going to continue.
Yeah, the one thing I am seeing now is with the return to work, I'm seeing a lot more retrofit work, smaller retrofit work that was neglected during the pandemic because people weren't out in the office. So we are seeing a lot more fast turn retrofit work. And I'm expecting that to continue for the next 6 to 9 months as people do return to the office.
And just to add a little bit on we have an international footprint, and from an international perspective, the market is a little bit different right now than the US. And we're seeing a lot of opportunities as well from data centers in Asia, in the UK, as well as in South America right now. So we have a lot of that work coming up that it was not being done during the pandemic. So that the international markets are growing, we think a little bit faster from a product standpoint and from the managed service standpoint than in the US right now.
You mentioned among the services cybersecurity. Can you speak to that a little bit more in terms of what the offering is right now, where you would like to see that go?
Well, just think about cybersecurity from a base perspective. We've seen a lot of cyber incidences where contractors have been on site and things have happened because they haven't had proper password protection. So cyber is about monitoring our customers' systems to make sure there are no breaches and nothing's happening, as well as an education process, because it's very important that because all of our systems are tied to networks. And it's very important that we make sure we have robust passwords, right? So some systems, unfortunately, were set up with no password, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or ABCD, which are very prone to let others get in and have access to the system. So a lot of it too is not just the monitoring of the system, but also the education to make sure our technicians do the right thing when they set up the systems in general from a password perspective.
Was there anything in particular that was sort of learned or encountered on the first couple made, let's say, in early 2021 or late 2020, whenever the first ones of this cluster began? A couple of lessons that were learned that are making it smoother and easier with, successive acquisitions.
I'll share one I think that's very important, and that's communication. So we do a lot around communication to the employees and to the team members to make sure they're fully informed. Because as the acquirer, right, we know what we plan on doing. And the company that's being acquired, honestly, they're very nervous. A lot of the team members, they're worried about their benefits, they're worried about their jobs, they're worried about their salaries, they're worried about the changes to them. And so we're not making a lot of those changes. So I just make sure I'm very vocal and let them know that really not a lot is going to change. You're going to continue to do your job. We're not going to mess with your benefits. We're not going to mess with your salary. We're going to take good care of you. And I think we just need to be aware that they're very sensitive, and they, obviously they should be, because they don't really know everything. And we need to make sure we overly communicate. We overly talk to them. We make sure that they're comfortable. And, we do that by video. We do that by letters. We make sure we over communicate. But that is probably the one lesson I learned, is we've got to over communicate to the acquisition targets.
And I add to that, especially for me, and this might be a small token, but I think that it's important to mention, a lot of the sellers, the owners, are still with our company, right? Are still with the company, are the one to invest into it, and they have the same focus. So that helped a lot to promote and to make sure that the people below them are comfortable with the strategy and comfortable that they're still the leaders that they see every day. They continue to be there. And for me, the little token that I think it's important to me, the lesson that I learned, is continue to be in touch with those sellers, right? Continue to be in touch with our owners. And they call me all the time to ask me questions, although I move on to other acquisitions. That communication that Joe is talking about continue to be important, to make sure that they're comfortable, that we haven't changed anything that we said that we were going to do. And, and I think that has been a strong suit for the following acquisitions that we continue to do.
And what's the philosophy on branding? Do you keep the acquired company's name in place, or do you have a timetable for phasing it out?
Yeah, so our brand strategy is to really honor the legacy of the brands that we've acquired, right? We've acquired fantastic organizations that, some are dating back to the 1800s, right, with AFA. And they have really great brand equity. So the way I best describe our branding approach as we become this new entity is to honor and respect the legacy of the companies that we've acquired, and be able to communicate the company we've become, right? So AFA, the Protection Bureau, StructureWorks, and I don't want to leave anybody out because they're all equally important, but they all have great local brand equity, local brand recognition, but none of them represent who CTSI has become. So, you'll, I guess, keep an eye and an ear out for, some things to introduce and describe the company that we've become. But you'll see the brand of each of the individual acquired companies retained for quite some time.
So if I'm a Protection Bureau or AFA client, it's sort of just a FYI formality to me to find out that, CTSI is now, the owner.
I mean, our communication has been and continues to be business as usual for our customers. And I think if we polled them, you would get that response. The difference, however, is that now, and we have customers who are starting to leverage this and take advantage of it, is, we have customers that we were serving in the Northeast that we now have really great depth and capabilities in the Southeast and in London, right? That we didn't have 2 years ago. So those customers are now able to leverage the benefit of the greater company that we've become, both from a geographic reach perspective and then also from a technology capability or technology perspective. Some of our clients historically have relied on us for security integration, and they have fire systems requirements, but we didn't have those capabilities in certain markets. So now those customers are able to get served by a CTSI organization across multiple technology platforms with the same level of customer care that they're used to.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. Joe, Alan, Sergio, it's been very enlightening, and I appreciate your time, and I wish you continued success throughout the year and beyond.
God, thank you.
God, thanks a million.